record. And let me go live. I forgot I was on a different computer. Let me make sure I can do this.
Yeah, I think we did that the last time. You just let everybody just have it. Yeah, because I'd rather not be closed off, because we have to reach as many of our people as we can, so we can correct some of the thinking, and let them know there's other stuff available other than what they just think that they have, so.
Okay, so share to your group, Black 10K. Okay, it is going live, and then I will introduce us and we will get this party started.
Okay. Oh, I see it. I see it jump up there. You can jump up there.
Okay. That. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Doing something different tonight. We decided to let all of you in Facebook get a look behind the curtain, so to speak, tonight. And we are sharing tonight's Bet on Black Founder live. My name is Tawana Rivers. I'm the CEO of the 10K Project. We have the amazing Tannen Andrews here with you or with us. He's going to talk about his new project. Or his existing project. It's not even a new project. Tannen is a returning founder. He's a member of the 10K Project, and we are super excited to be sharing him with the community again this week. And so with that said, for those of you who have not attended a Bet on Black pitch before, we typically start with pulling up the campaign page so that you can see the terms of the offering. And so I will do that here. So let me share my screen. And I see the community members coming in. Guys, if you haven't already, go ahead and put your name, your city and state, in the chat so that we could see where all of Tannen's potential future investors reside. All right. Okay, hopefully you guys can all see my screen. So Tannen's campaign link will be put in the chat, and in Facebook we'll also put it in the comment section for you guys. We'll be doing that throughout the evening. So Tannen, you know how this goes. You don't have to worry about putting that in, we will. So the name of this company is Consumer Cooperative Group. It is a co-op, it's a real estate co-op. The max offering is $5 million. The target offering is $5,000. There's a minimum of $500 investment. It gets you 2,000 shares at 25 cents per share. And the company is valuated between $22 and $40 million. Tannen is going to tell you all about the project itself, but I want you to look through all of the information on the campaign page. So for those of you in the community who come to the pitches often, you know the importance of doing your due diligence and looking at every piece of information that the founders put on their campaign pages. They spend a lot of time putting information there. They know that it is the information you need to make a sound determination on if you want to add them in to your portfolio or not. And so you can see Tannen's Form C. The Form C is the form that Tannen would have filed with the SEC, right? And so you want to look at that. You see an overview of the project. Oftentimes founders have video, informational videos. Tannen has one there. He gives you a lot of information to follow on the project. He'll talk tonight about some of his background, and I'm just scrolling through so you can see some of this. So he's talking about the problem that he's solving, how the project works, all of the things you need to understand in order to make a decision on if this fits in your portfolio or not. And as I stated, throughout the evening, we'll go ahead and put the link in the comment section, as well as on the in the chat here in Zoom, to see if you are interested. Okay.
Keep scrolling, Tawana. Keep scrolling. There you go.
Keep scrolling. So you see Tannen's team.
Look at
right?
Tawana, y'all. Look at Tawana, y'all.
You see me as part of the team. Tannen came last year, absolutely blew me away with the education that he is doing for the community. And I wanted to be a part of what he is building for us. This is a man who is truly focused and has been for years focused on building wealth in our community and closing the wealth gap. And finally, the law caught up with his idea. And so when the Jobs Act, and he'll tell you all about this, right? When the Jobs Act was approved, Tannen realized it was finally time to do and to execute what he had been talking about and planning and building for almost 2 decades. And so with that said, Tannen, I am going to turn it over to you. I'm going to stop sharing. Okay. I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you so much for not giving up all those years ago.
Oh, you ain't lying.
To catch up. You know, we appreciate founders like you and brothers like you that don't give up on the community by any means necessary. You're going to be right here. Tannen spends his weekends educating for like 2 and 3 hours a shot the community members. Sometimes it's like, I'll get the invite. I'll be like, from 2 to 4 on a Saturday, Tannen, come on. But he is out there educating. When you are part of this cooperative, the one thing you won't be able to say is, I didn't know, because this brother is telling you all the things. So with that, I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Andrews.
Appreciate that. Man, you ain't lying. You can't holler about you don't know anything. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, Tawana, and go ahead and get started. Let me know you can see it, right? Should be able to see it. Yes?
It's coming in now.
Okay.
We're good to go.
You're good? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Hello, my name is, I'm Tannen Andrews. I'm the founder, and I've served as the chief executive officer since 4 consumer cooperatives inception. As an entrepreneur, I've spent the last 3 decades investing and renovating single and multifamily family homes that benefited the subsidized housing market in Southwest Dallas. Also, while I was educating the community about how to properly set up and structure business entities and instilling the importance of financial power of pooling capital resources for financial independence. Now, I established our company's cooperatives methodology, Co-opinomics, nearly 25 years ago, but current legislation was not adopted at the time to pursue it. I also implemented this methodology to bring the awareness of the financial power of the community to the forefront, to buy back our communities, build infrastructure that will create community-based businesses, utility services, and a financial network that would allow my fellow community members across the world to circulate its financial capital amongst itself and solidify a right of an equity stake for the people in every community without and or limited governmental involvement. I currently hold a bachelor's in science, game art, computer animation, and a master of arts in entrepreneurship with a concentration in small business management. And in September, I will be starting my doctorates in business and administration. Now, we must co-opt the block in order to control the block and always play for equity in commerce. I'm gonna get some disclaimers out. This is not legal advice, and this is for educational purposes only. I always leave everything now, Tawana, with that to make sure. It's very important. Now, at the beginning of all my presentations, I always get into the legal maxim, because this is contracts. Everything that we're doing is contracts, and we have to re-educate ourselves and understand that everything that we do involves contracts. And it's important that we understand that and we read and understand the terms. So I'm going to begin this with a legal maxim. in the agreements of the contracting parties, the rule is to regard the intention rather than the words. So I'll give you a quick overview. I created an innovative financial vehicle called Real Estate Investment Cooperative, REC for short. It is a turnkey, cash flowing, multifamily, and other real estate investments vehicle that could be accessed in exchange for equity shares within our cooperative. This, in combination with education on variations of assets and through the use of cooperative economics, sometimes we call co-opinomics, we are working to enable historically inaccessible generational wealth for our community. With 500 plus cooperative members and growing, this round of funding will go towards securing our first multifamily complex valued at up to $10 million. Let me get my screen straight here. I'm gonna go up to this one here. All right, get to the next one here. Okay, so the question is, who are we? Consumer Cooperative Group is a modern day real estate investment cooperative model based on co-opinomics. Co-opinomics is cooperative plus economics, and this method will create a financial network of like-minded members of society that financially pool their capital resources together in exchange for equity stock and utilize that stock as a means of building a financial foundation in equity instead of the traditional debt model. Venture capital, real estate fund, and real estate investment trust that has been forced upon us without any recourse of building actual wealth through real estate or any other type of venture without the understanding of the contracting with the debt. Now, dependence on the third-party intermediaries to handle our financial and legal matters is where we have been transferring our power, okay? There's no more complaining or excuses. You are being given due notice. The Jobs Act of 2016 has given us equitable relief for those who wish to take advantage of it. We can now use the system they created to buy back our real estate, take an equity interest, control the cash flow, build back our wealth as a cooperative group, and then hedge it on Wall Street as a potentially publicly traded company. Now, the reasons to invest. Within the next year, we will be focused on establishing our real estate market share through multifamily acquisitions, creating our membership and business directory, and expanding our membership base through our cooperative ecosystem. Our cooperative model plans to revitalize community and group economics through indirect real estate ownership via our equity stock. We think that this will decrease the dependence on local, state, and federal resources while stimulating economic growth. We believe the Jobs Act of 2012 and 2016 created access to our niche market of an underserved and neglected community of investors. We feel this is unknown to many in various communities, and this is an opportunity to make them aware of the potential upside of changing their financial situation for the better. I spent decades investing in renovating single-family, multifamily homes that benefited the subsidized housing market in Southwest Dallas, all while simultaneously educating the community of the power of pooling for financial independence. Co-opinomics, hedging, that term when I say hedging our real estate on Wall Street, we believe that the underserved communities have never had access to the real estate space, and thus have never had access to the benefits of generational wealth, right? There's a lot of facades out there, right? Using the term generational wealth, right? That's just like a gimmick, but nobody's showing the work. How do we get there, right? So there's no shortage of non-qualified individuals selling pipe dreams of generational wealth using wealthy man's tools to achieve the impossible without real viable financial education to do so. In other words, they only show you the material aspects of wealth as well as the end result, and never show you the work that provides the foundation. Consumer Cooperative Group is an investment vehicle that we believe will finally level that financial playing field through a newly created cooperative financial ecosystem. Now, we are determined to create access to generational wealth because we've been subjected to a systematic programming through suggestive reasoning to the point of being so naive that we have let other people redress something that we invent, sell it back to us, and then enslave us through it. We need financial representation within the Wall Street ecosystem that is for the people, by the people, and of the people. Now, through the use of private equity stock, we are utilizing technology to prepare, educate, and train a new generation of entrepreneurs and real estate investors by collaborating with the people directly in order to innovate. Now, we focus on generational wealth based on equity holdings, indirect real estate ownership, and passive income to remove the barriers to entry and carve out a market just for our community. So let's address the problem. There are multiple problems, but let's focus on the main culprit, right? In doing so, it mitigates or it completely eliminates the other problems associated with the wealth gap problem. I believe that the traditional investments in real estate or any business venture are marketed as a one-size-fits-all. Everything appears to be marketed as being easy, right? They only highlight the benefits of a business opportunity, because all business opportunities are not business opportunities. Because at the end of the day, right, you are either a part of a business opportunity or you are just funding someone else's dream, which in reality is not an investment, it's a donation. Outdated legislation determined who had access to early financial opportunities. To us, this means they have reserved it for high net worth individuals and institutions contributing to the wealth gap to the rest of the society. Now let's go over the wealth gap problem and the solutions, right? This is going to be a combo here. In order to address the wealth gap problem, we have to identify the problem and its attributes that would make up and contribute to the problem. We have to take excitement and emotion completely out of the investment opportunity and look for the signs of the problem, such as, get to this next slide. We're going to look at, you have to look at the investment threshold. It is too high, or it offers what they call a percentage, a return on your investment. You must be wealthy to be able to engage in these opportunities, because money makes money. So if the minimum is anything over 5,000, then a non-accredited investor cannot participate in the investment. And even if they did qualify, right, and was offered a 10% return, they would be capped at a $500 return if that company becomes a multi-billion-dollar company. Offers of percentages are normally tied to real estate funds or REITs, and they only entitle you to payments from debt money and not equity. So you have to watch the language in these offerings. It's very important. So the next one of those issues is we're dealing with predatory in nature. Their actions are predatory in nature as it relates to, say, lending, because you hear that term predatory lending. So the same rules apply in this industry as well when the Jobs Act comes in, right? So what I mean by this is that there is a presumption that the business, which is the issuer, and the investors know and understand how to raise and invest, which is completely the opposite. The business, the issuer, and the non-accredited investors can be taken advantage of in this scenario only because they do not read or understand the offering material. And if they do, an understanding or a meeting of the minds on the terms is never established. There are multiple culprits that cause this disconnect. For the investor, it's the marketing hype that creates a sense of urgency, business as usual in the investment industry, lack of education, and lack of extraneous disclosure regarding the offering. Now, for the business, again, the issuer is their desperation, predatory-like tactics from some third-party intermediaries trying to control the offering. It's content and delivery to the crowd of their choice, right? Under their control, including high campaign fees on their platform, as well as other outrageous fees for other services that the business issuer can go through directly. I can speak on that on personal experience, right? I see what happens behind the doors. You guys don't. So it's my job to explain to you so you can understand what these businesses are going through when they're getting on these platforms and what they may be experiencing. And it can be very depressing. You know what I mean? So there's a lot, like Tawana said, there's a lot going into the documentation and the offering, but there's a lot of other stuff that's happening, a lot of pressure from some of these portals. Okay, the other thing is the no access to capital markets. Now, liquidity, in my opinion, should always be disclosed, okay? The lack of an exit strategy being mentioned or disclosed should be scrutinized by all non-accredited investors, right? That's you guys. You're the new investors that were created by the Jobs Act. You have access. We have access to you. You have access to us, and you need to know this information so you can scrutinize some of these offerings that are being out, because you need to know, well, who's really in control, right? Is it the business or is it the platform that's in control? We got to be very mindful of that, right? So now most businesses shy away from equity, right? But they do not. But most do not know, because of the potential access to capital markets for liquidity. So in other words, when they shy away from equity, right, and they don't want to give up pieces of the company, there's the disconnect right there, right? They're only utilizing one option. So it tells me that they don't understand, and no one is telling them about the other potential options. You know what I mean? So they're only thinking of only one way. Well, I don't want to give up a piece of my company, but then you're missing the whole premise of what the Jobs Act is for and what raising capital is for. You see, so you have to be open to a lot of that. So some of the narratives entail that I'm going to build up my company's value and then I'm going to sell it for a profit and pay off all my early investors, right? You hear that all the time, right? That's not wealth building, right? You loaned the company money with a promised interest rate, and that's all you're going to receive after the sale of the company. They have you believing that this is how the game is played. For the wealthy, it is, right? But not for the non-wealthy people. You have to work up to that. You must forget about instant gratification and do the work. Right? Now, my perspective of an investment is receiving equity, which is part ownership. So when the company grows, you grow in proportion to how many shares you own. That is wealth building, right? You are wealth building through acquiring as many equity shares as possible from a private business that is planning a stock market exit strategy for liquidity. Okay, so that is why the Jobs Act was enacted. And that is why they only show you the narrative of raising capital, but not the work on showing you how to list and trade the business on Wall Street, while potentially creating wealth for non-accredited investors. They have been doing this for over 224 years. It's our turn. The other one is people are unable to get equity ownership, right? Everyone is trying to sell you debt with a return on your investment. People are stuck on that statement, and nothing else seems to matter but that statement. I listen to it all the time, and I tell them to do the numbers and then tell them to tell me what those numbers look like. Because it's your responsibility. I want you to hear that. It's your responsibility, right? Not mine, to tell you that the numbers. You have to know the numbers. I put the information out. It's your duty and your responsibility, and you're accountable for making sure that you know those numbers by doing your own projections. Now, an investor who knows what they are doing should already know, based on, like I said, the present numbers. The system that we're in, they take advantage of this because they know you're not running the numbers. Okay? Because if you did, you would know that it's not a good investment, right? Based on your investor classification. You would know it's not an you would know it's not a good investment, right? You do not want to loan money for a return. You want to invest money for equity and potential liquidity through a registered asset, which is the stock, security, or whatever it's called, right? This is what they are not sharing with you. They are not required to, but they should. As equity holders with us, we share this information. You're not looking for a return on your money. You're looking for a bargain on an asset, which is equity stock, that will be registered and listed on an exchange that can be used in lieu of money. That's instead of, for those, and or used as a leveraged asset to acquire other types of assets. This is generational wealth building. Instead of using the system's money, you use your future registered assets instead of as leveraged instead of your labor, right? So in other words, you're using your registered asset as leverage. You're not relinquishing it, and you're utilizing your asset instead of your labor. That's how you work smart, right? They got you working for money, right? But you don't control the contract. You working for money, but you don't control your labor, right? Because that labor is within a contract, right? And we're going to get to that later. These are very important points. Now, financial gatekeeping practices and competitors in disguise. We're going to go over those two sections in this here. Now, our advantage in this offering is that the non-traditional business and real estate investment is our business foundation. We did not have to learn or adjust our business policies to new legislation like some of our competitors, right, who are racing to catch up to capture the new flood of investors to this market. We are different because we speak the common. Oops, wait a minute. What happened? Did we jump? Yeah, we jumped. No, that's weird. We're different because we speak the common language of this new niche market, right? Of investors, as well as knowing their specific needs by offering what the competition will not. We're offering growth opportunities through equity, all while providing affordable entry-level investment thresholds for every household budget. Real estate investment pooling within our cooperative model provides indirect real estate ownership benefits to our new investors through equity shareholdings, with the main focus on establishing a market for liquidity of our shareholdings, something our competitors are not focusing on. Now, before there was even a platform for us to crowdfund, the competition already had one. Right? I want you to think about that for a minute, right? And this is part of your due diligence. So when you're looking at we'll talk about that. I want to jump ahead. We'll talk about that, about the capitalization, right? On the competition that already had one, the Pre-Jobs Act has been enjoying capital access for over 2 centuries now. So why are funding platforms migrating the venture capitalist methodology into our crowdfunding space, right? What people do not understand or are misled to believe is how is our competition actually capitalized? And this is some of the training that we do when we're talking about capitalization. What do people The Jobs Act was created to break up the monopoly on the access to capital, but our competition is seasoned and privy to a system that has had them dictate whether they fund or not fund small businesses at the rates between 1% to 4%. Venture capitalist firms are capitalizing various businesses on funding platforms and the funding platform itself, and have migrated their traditional Regulation D, lucrative and seasoned standards, and have hijacked our decentralized funding platforms under disguise as a crowdfunding portal. Here's an example from Realty Mogul's website. Okay. The question is, how is Realty Mogul capitalized? Now, this is a competitor, this is a competitor with us, right? Because they're we created a new methodology called REC, which is a real estate investment cooperative, right? To compete with Realty Mogul, which is a real estate fund. You have to be able to decipher what is what in regards to what function does a real estate investment trust is, what the function of a REIT, and what the function of what a real estate investment cooperative is doing. Okay, this is the very question you should be asking yourself before you decide to invest in any business, because this will dictate what is being offered to you and what is not. Okay, Realty Mogul is backed by various venture capitalist firms and additional strategic investors such as real estate firms. In March of 2014, they completed their first major capital raise for $9 million, which was led by Canaan Partners, a prominent venture capital firm and one of the first investors in Lending Club. In July of 2015, they raised an additional $35 million from Sorensen Capital, Canaan Partners, and additional strategic partners. Okay, this is a wealthy man's strategy being utilized by wealthy institutions and individuals, not non-accredited investors like yourself. Now, when I say wealthy, I'm going to give you an example of venture capitalists. I'm speaking about institutions that control other people's money, right? Because it's not their money they're using. Be mindful of that, right? Of what I stated earlier about receiving a return and not equity, right? So you see a lot of these campaigns and they're going good, and you say, man, they're raising millions and millions of dollars. That's not us. That's not us, because they have us fooled, right? That's all venture capital money, right? And they've already partitioned off their stock from that group, right? And then they're giving the breadcrumbs, the scraps, to anyone else that wants to come in and just throw their money in, right? You're just giving them money. You're just giving it to them, and you're not getting anything returned. We got to stop that. Right now, you are the new niche market created by the Jobs Act, as well as a new pool of capital resources that they can market to and capture without giving you the wealth building tools, but only giving you an appearance of a real estate or a wealth building opportunity. You have to read between the lines. This is how they strip the capital away from this new niche market of investors, as well as the new niche businesses, which are the issuers that the Jobs Act also created. All right, so let's go and let's talk about the neglected and underserved investors are not permitted or are the target of the offering. This is where the predatory aspect of it comes in. They're specifically targeting you because they know they can get you excited about an offering with the numbers. This is what they call marketing hype. This goes into the next segment of this problem. Funding portals are intermediaries in the sense like brokers, right? But with very limited authority, but they still act in some sort of form of fiduciary capacity to the investors regarding disclosures and fair dealings with the issuer. Such as not making any legal determinations about the company's offering and other ethical dealings. About 99% of these funding portals are in violation of this fair dealing rule under their FINRA regulator. It goes unchecked until now, right? It is understandable that funding portals are businesses and they are in a position to offer various services to make additional money, but at what expense, right? There's also is where you develop a sense that funding portals are indirect competitors to the company as it relates to the new target of investors. The question is who's raising capital, the funding portal or the company? And this creates a gray area when some funding portals are doing crowdfunding campaigns right alongside of the company at the same time. I don't have to mention anyone's name. You see that happening, right? So now we're going after the same investors, right? And this poses as an interference issue. The funding portal controls the data from the potential investor accessing the funding portal. And if the funding portal is a competitor, then this can be used as leverage to benefit the funding portal to market directly to them and gain their investment dollars, right? You have to watch. You gotta pay attention and watch for the hijack. You have to watch for the hijack, right? They're doing it. It's there. They do it right in front of you. This being a closed loop, and you add the burden that VCs are the main attraction. As I mentioned earlier, you'll see why tighter regulation should be imposed on funding portals and participation limits should be enforced on VCs in the regulation crowdfunding space, just like it is with the non-accredited investors under the Reg D funding space. All right, so let's get into the solution, right? Solution and the understanding of different types of capitalization. We're going up against a stacked deck, right? Because venture capitalist standards should not be applied to crowdfunding portals because they represent two different types of capitalization methods, and they should be treated as such and not commingled in any way that is misleading to the business who is forced to use the funding portal to conduct an offering and to the public investor. Now, one can easily assume the success of a business on a funding platform is derived from the crowdfunding method of the non-accredited investor, and that is not the case. This is an unknown risk that is not disclosed, and this leads to a false narrative that creates a perception that financial decisions are made by these new investors based on these narratives. Venture capitalists usually fund high-risk business ideas that usually do not materialize some sort of return for several years, right? That's very important data and information right there, right? You have to know what you're getting involved with beforehand, right? And if it's worth that, right? And that type of burden has migrated over into the crowdfunding arena. And new investors do not understand the history behind the VC methods and the pressure put on companies to grow at a rapid pace. Now, I want you to think about the funding portals that are capitalized by VCs, right? And then pressure to perform and deliver the next big company for potential high returns. This is where the conflict resides and where the funding portal's vetting process and the manipulation of the public's interest begins. A single category of a type of business that only fits the profile of a venture capitalist type of deal is accepted. All other businesses are discarded from participating on a federally regulated funding portal to access public capital, and the public investors are denied access to these discarded businesses, and their choice to invest has been manipulated. Y'all don't see this going on. You just see the shiny stuff. This is all that you see. This is why I educate, right? This is the reason why I do the offering, did it myself. Right. So y'all can see, so you can be aware of this. We have to retrain our brain into thinking and not falling for the okie doke. Right. So this is the traditional way they've been doing business. They overhype a business that they vetted and or fashioned to be a VC acceptable, venture capitalist acceptable. And then it creates a Pied Piper effect for a new class of investors under the Jobs Act, on which they can follow. This contaminates the true essence of crowdfunding for a small business and a new investor. Now, a side note here, in 2020, right, there were 13,621,000 accredited investor households out of 128.5 million in America. Roughly 10.6% of all American households controlled $73.3 trillion in wealth. Just 10%, y'all. In 2020, I bet you they're crowdfunding privately amongst themselves. They probably don't call it that, they call it networking, but regardless of the fact, they control about 76.3% of all private wealth in America. And the methodology they probably use to control commerce is venture capital. Now, this number does not even include the non-human accredited investor or the institutional investors. Now, venture capitalists are investing 20 to 30 billion a year in what they perceive as innovative companies based on their methodology. Let's activate the crowdfunding method and take the remaining 114,879,000 households of non-accredited investors or a portion thereof and say 10,000 accredited investors invest in a minimum of 2,500 each once a year for 5 years. This will equate to $125 million or more in capital to acquire cash flowing real estate assets for our company, an ownership stake for you, and we can start increasing the people's wealth instead of giving it away to the people and institution who dictates who gets what and when. All right. Now, through Co-opinomics, which I call our flagship REC model, REIC, we provide an equity model in the real estate investment startup, which will allow the neglected and underserved community of investors an option to invest and build asset wealth through equity holdings. Now, how will this work, right? We have to offer investors a pool investment program that involves the purchase of cash flowing multifamily properties with funds contributed by the cooperative members and investors. Now, in exchange, member investors receive equity stock, indirect real estate ownership on a proportion that is based on their investment and passive income. This model is designed to create sustainable and equitable growth for all shareholders while preserving affordability in our investor communities across the world. Our business model is simple, right? Co-opinomics, cooperative plus economics. You invest, we buy, we collect the rent, and then we split the profits. It's that simple. Now, what we have to do is, and what we're doing is we're duplicating their financial methodology and changing the players. Okay. Earlier, I talked about classifications where people in society are placed into categorical groups. This is similar to redlining and what has been used as a method of division and a way to control who gets access to financial resources and who does not. That is why we have a wealth disparity between all groups, but some groups have it worse than others. As we're dealing with the public capital, as we are dealing with the public capital as it relates to Wall Street investing, we have to understand the business to business and the business to consumer methodology behind manufacturing, wholesale, and retail. So let's break it down to a science. I will use the automobile industry as an example, and then replace the attributes from a financial perspective. Okay. Understanding each stage of the supply chain. The supply chain consists of various stages from different industries. We'll be discussing the general about manufacturing, wholesale, and retail. Ford is a automobile manufacturer. Okay, so in all of its costs, right, it cost them this is just an example, $1,000 to build a basic automobile. Okay, so prior to the building of each auto, the dealer had to place an order for 100 autos at a discounted price of $950, which that would be a 5% discount per auto at wholesale, which then the dealer sells for $1,500 each, right? To the public at retail. Now, note, sometimes a distributor between the manufacturer and the dealer may exist, or the manufacturer may act as both, and that cost may be included in the wholesale price. All righty, so let me get over to this next one here. Now, let's understand it from this perspective. Let's understand each stage of the supply chain using the company stock as the example. Now, from the investor's perspective, it deals with company stock. The company legally forms, right? They legally form itself as a private entity, right? These are the relationships. We need to understand what the relationships is and how everything connects with one another, right? And then doing so, they must authorize and create, which manufacture the shares of stock in order to sell to capitalize their business. The company sells 1 million shares of stock at a wholesale price of 5 cents per share, pennies on the dollar, for $50,000 to early investors, right? And in that case, that would be venture capitalists, investment banks, accredited investors, brokerage houses looking for financial growth. Now, in order to access the capital markets, which is Wall Street, the company has to apply for a listing to trade and sell their stock to retail investors to obtain liquidity for their company and their early investors. They list their shares, starting trading at $10 per share. So let's put this in perspective so you can see how this wealth disparity has been funded by us indirectly through the banks and directly by us by retail purchasing through 401ks that our jobs suggest we set up, through brokerage houses that purchase blocks of these stocks at wholesale and then acts as the distributor to your company's 401k to sell you at a retail price after the company goes public. You have to know that's what's going on. You have to know that. So let's get into real quick. Let's get into our reverse stack methodology. How is the supply chain structured with the company, right, within the financial system? Like how the manufacturer of the product goes from a raw material to a tangible product being delivered to a customer. We're not going to talk about all of that in between process, just the major ones, right? Okay, so we're going to use Facebook as an example, and we're going to discuss them in the concept as a manufacturer of stock to the wholesale and finally to the retail, and how this will affect your decision to invest in the security from now on. All right, so this is a good starting point here. So we're going to go into Facebook here. This is as if we were able to get Facebook, right, at 1 penny per share. And y'all know I'm using this example because this is what's going on with us now, right? So what are our current investors? So they should be mindful of that. This is considered the manufacturer stage. The company is formed and then stock is created, right? So you get excited about these companies that are publicly traded, right? But if you're not doing your due diligence, you would know that they were once private companies. So your due diligence should be on, dang, what were they trading? What were not trading, but what did they start their company at? What was their price per share when they were first initiated? If you're not asking that question and you don't find that out, then you're not going to be able to make the proper decision if you're going to invest in a company at that price per share, right? Because everybody jumps on and thinks $4, $5, $10 a share. Oh, it's good. I'm getting in early. No. I'm telling you, I've created stock, pennies on the dollar. And when you do your due diligence, you'll see this, all right? So this is the beginning process of creating stock as an asset to be used as a tool in exchange for capital to fund your business. This is what the businesses don't know. They always want to say, oh, I'm going to sell my company, and then I'm going to build the value up, and I'm going to sell the company, and they're not understanding that they're in a valuable position, and the person that's buying the company knows that they're benefiting from it, but they're not telling them. They're not pulling them to the side. Hey, man, you don't need to sell your company, man. Just do. You see, no one is pulling our people to the side and telling them that. They're just going out there and giving away their IP, giving away all their blood and sweat that they created, you see, for nothing. We're happy to get scraps. I don't understand that. We got to get out of that. Okay, so now the stock value in the beginning of the stock creation process is always arbitrary, right? It could be at pennies of the dollars or it could be less. I'm using a round number for simple calculation. So here you would multiply your investment dollar amount times the price per share, and that would give you the total equal shares. Now we move into into the pre-IPO stage. All right, this is actual Facebook's numbers here. This is what took place, right? And this is the wholesale stage. So at this point, you're looking for wholesalers who supply goods and services to retail market establishment. Now are you seeing the connection now? You see, I'm the manufacturer. I manufactured the stock, right? Now I'm coming in and looking for wholesalers. That's y'all. Remember I was talking about get a bargain? You invest to get a bargain in stock that is private before it goes public. That should be your mentality, right? Now, in this case, the wholesalers would be the institutional banks in Facebook's case, right? Venture capitalists and other intermediary financial institutions, right? These intermediaries will have clients such as corporations, small businesses, governments in which 401ks are being serviced. On the retail market side, these intermediaries will serve as the underwriter and offer early investment access to their clients at a marked up retail rate in order to establish a public market float for the company. As I stated above, the underwriters are doing a market valuation here between $28 and $38 per share, right? And will negotiate a less price per share for themselves while establishing a retail market for retail investors to pay. You see, this is the wealth creation process at its core, and the people are creating it for everyone else but themselves and not even realizing it, right? Now, there's an opportunity cost here, right? Now, you know, there's an alternative, either early invest in the pre-IPO or later when it hits trading on Wall Street. If you can continue to ignore the opportunity to invest early, then you will be able to establish your loss of your potential gain when you choose to wait and invest when it started trading publicly on the market. All right, those same 12,000 shares here, I want you to look at this chart here, for $120, and this is for my current investors as well, right? They know, right? You put $120 in our last offering, see, you were able to get 12,000 shares, right? I want you to focus on that number, $120, 12,000 shares, right? When it was pennies on the dollar, right? We'll get to that. Those same shares, hold on a second. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. See, 120, 12,000 shares, you get 500, you got 50,000 shares, $1,000 got you 1,000 shares, right? So now if you go back over here, right, those same 12,000 shares will now cost you between 408,000 to 456,000. You see the wealth that's being created? This ain't made up. This is what the stock market is about. This is what's going on. You see? If we go public and come out at that, that's what 12,000 shares would do for you. That's wealth creation. Right? That's the work you need to learn, right? That's real investing. Okay. Then you minus the $120, right? And you would have paid, and that would be your opportunity cost, which is your loss of the potential gain. Those same 50,000 shares will now cost you between 1.7 million and 1.9 million. Minus the $500 you would have paid, and that would be your opportunity cost, which is your loss of the potential gain. Okay. Those same 100,000 shares will have cost you as well, will cost you 3.4 million to 3.8 minus the 1,000 you would have paid. That would be your opportunity cost, which is your loss of your potential gain. Are you seeing it? I hope when we get into this question, this Q&A, I want to know that you understand that and how powerful that is. We miss out on this all the time because we're listening to people saying, hey, go to the stock market. Oh, you invest in the stock market, right? You have to know, did I lose? You have to know when to invest, when you want to jump in the retail side, the wholesale side, or the manufacturing stage when the company is created at its inception, right? There's a lot at stake here, and no one is explaining this to you, and it's preventing you from making good and sound investment choices in this overly hyped market of companies selected by these crowdfunding portals. Your money, our money, has been used in these past IPOs without equitable compensation to you and me. We are changing this practice now. All right, so of course, you know, they went public, right? They went public. They came out at $38 a share, right? So we don't have to go over these numbers again, right? This is what you're worth. This is what your investment would have been at the end of that trading day on May 18, 2012, right? Shares closed at $38 per share. You see, that's what it would have been if you were able to get in at pennies on the dollar. I don't have the numbers of what the banking underwriters made, but we know it was in the billions of dollars. It was your billions of dollars, and you never saw a dime of it. It is time for you, us, the people, to switch places with these financial intermediaries and fund our own startups so that these billions in wealth will transfer back to us instead of the financial institutions. The Jobs Act made this possible to bypass them and go directly to the source of the capital, the people. 9 years later, this is what your investment would have been worth to 9 years valued at in 2021 if you had that investment opportunity and you just sat there and let your wealth, your generational wealth build, right? Your shares are the 2021, the Facebook shares were worth $378 per share. Those same 12,000 shares, if you would have got in early, and I'm saying that for a reason, getting in early on a private company when it's pennies on the dollar, your stock would be worth 12,000 shares would be worth 4.53 million. 50,000 shares when you came in with 500 would be worth 18.9 million. These are not made up numbers. These are real numbers. 100,000 shares would be worth 37.8 million. That is generational wealth. That is the wealth that's being built when you create a company. You know how to capitalize it. You know how to issue shares, right? For pennies on the dollar and give equity to the people instead of the bank, because the people are the bank. You want them to invest. You want to invest, right? And they are not even, right? This is Facebook. They're not even investing in real estate. They sold access to people's accounts for marketing purposes on their platform. The consumer was the product. We got to stop being the product. We got to stop being the product, y'all. Your intellectual property monetized their business, and you did not get one share of stock. They're transferring our wealth by the billions from our intellectual and capital resources because our only concern is wanting to be entertained, get likes, follows, and live the idea of being successful without actually being successful. Now, this is the reverse stack on the retail side of this financial supply chain, right? This is just an overview of the opportunity cost from the perspective from the wholesale versus the retail cost of the stock. In common sense, would you rather pay wholesale or retail if you had an opportunity to, right? But the real question is, were you given the opportunity to make the choice in the first place? That's the question. Now, I cannot stress enough, right? Prior to the Jobs Act, this is the wealth gap that was created between the government, corporations, and the people. Yes, I said the government. They use securities as well to create wealth of spending through municipal bonds, which are debt instruments secured by and paid by the people through taxes and other penal charges through the legal and civil system. I have video series coming soon called, well, I already have it out, Knowing the Ledger, the Power of Bookkeeping Entry. And that explains that when you become a member, or if you're already a member, you know that's there. And that gives you the breakdown of that. Now, they have a, they have a big head start on us. So now we have an opportunity to get the process started on recouping our equity through the leveraging of securities on Wall Street backed by our cash flowing real estate assets. Okay. So we already went over this. This is what we went over this stack already in regards to the last one. This is just what you would get if you come in at the wholesale. What the retail across would be if we did, we come out at a certain amount of shares value and whatnot. And this would help you, give you an idea of what to take place in regards to investing early at the manufacturing stage, the wholesale, and then eventually benefit the liquidity on the retail side. Okay. All right. So this is what we're purchasing. All right. So we're going to go into our multifamily acquisitions. We're going to close out. This is the last portion of it real quick. We just went over everything that would lead up to the acquisitions of the multifamily assets. The work is what establishes the foundation of being an educated and independent business and investor. Now we have to get into the potential results of creating generational wealth by hedging the potential cash flowing real estate assets and bring additional value to the equity stock, right? This is what we're doing. We're raising capital to buy these type of properties. These are the potential properties, Class A through Class D. Class A means 10 years, less than 10 years old. Class B is 10 to 25 years old. Class C is 25 to 40 years old. And Class D is 40 years plus. An example property that we're showing may be based on a real acquisition. It may or may not be, right? But this is just for you to have. The information being provided is based on a real property, and the data will serve as a good reference to the type of real estate acquisitions we will be pursuing, right? Now, we just went over everything that led up to the acquisitions of the of this, right? So let's go over this investment summary real quick, right? This property was constructed in 2004. It is a Class B property. It has 70 units with rentable square face of 72,614, right? Average size unit is 1,037 with the current occupancy of 95.7. The pricing guide for this area is in the middle of $7.5 million. Now, the asset leverage, this breaks down the low, mid, high ranges of which includes the debt down payment and debt coverage for the first year. The financial metric breaks down the low, mid to high price ranges, prices per unit, price per square foot, and the current net operating income, current cap rate, your year one NOI, which is your net operating income, your cap rate, current and year one gross rent multiplier, which is your GRM. Now, the NOI is all revenue minus the operating expenses. It doesn't include the debt. So this is very important. When you go back and you get to review this, I want you to look at this and study this, okay? The GRM determines how much rent you will collect relative to the property cost, okay? Now, the operating statement here is used to assess the property's performance and financial position. This portion of the statement covers the income from the trailing 12 months. Year one per, what is this? Per per unit and per square foot. In addition, it reports physical vacancy, concessions, bad debts, non-revenue units, utility bill back, and any additional income, as well as providing what the effective gross income will be. Now, this is important because when we get ready to do our acquisitions, you'll have this information and you'll understand what we're doing from the co-op side, right? That's very important. Now, the next part, real quick, is the expenses that covers the trailing 12 months and the unit per square foot. As you can see, the real estate taxes, insurance, utilities, trash, repairs, maintenance, payroll, and all the other expenses. This is what established the NOI number of the financial metrics slide. All right, so all right, this is where we're going to close out. We're going to be closing this out here. Let's go. We're going to close out here. Operated. This is so.
Bring it on home, Mr. Andrews. Bring it on home.
So yeah, this is important because this is the whole reason why we're doing this acquisition. This is the whole point, right? Operating statement. If you used to assess the property's performance and financial position, this portion of the statement covers the income of the trailing 12 months, year, whatever, and all of that, right? Bad debt, revenue, all of that is covering all that. The next part of the expenses, this also covers the trailing 12 months as well in regards to the taxes, insurance, and whatnot, right? So now let's get into the assumption in the year one returns. This is an aerial map of what our subject property is outlined in red. These are the type of properties that we target for acquisitions, right? These are the properties that are going to increase the value of your shareholdings, right? This is very important. The assumption summary here on this property showed that the original loan amount is 5.5 million, right? This is not the balance owed. This is just what's the loan amount is. Now, the estimated loan balance at a COE, which is a certificate of entitlement, is 5.2 million, right? The origination date was 2015 at an interest rate of 4.75, amortized over 30 years, but the term to pay off the loan is 10 years. The term date is 9/1/2025. So you see that's coming up. So this might be a realistic project, so I'm just letting you know. Now, the monthly payment on this is $28,691. Now they're selling the property, which we showed on the last slide, for $7.5 million. It may be negotiable or not. So look at the difference in the sale price from the loan balance. So we have multiple options here. There will be times when acquisitions like this will be assumable. Okay, so now when that is the case, we focus on the equity only in order to cash out the principals and assume the loan at a great interest rate. Assumable means qualification and red tape, right? At the same time, 2 million will be the max out cash out of pocket to assume a $7.5 million asset. That's the reason why I said we're going up to 10 million. We're using less cash to obtain it because we're using our skill set on that, right? That I'm teaching you. Now you have to see, you see how we will purchase the first multifamily, right? Only raising up to 5 million, right? Because we're using less cash to purchase a high value piece of property, which in turn gives us a high value appraisal on our stock, on your stock holdings. Now, option 2, we can pay cash for it. And it will not be an option here since the offer is 7.5. So our capital raise is only 5 million. The assumption is the best option for our pre-IPO. So in this option, we will execute this acquisition post DPO, which is a direct public listing on our target, which is the New York Stock Exchange American. Our stock has become liquid, and now we can use it in lieu of cash for real estate acquisitions. So let's break it down real quick. We can either do a cash offer with a discount using our listed and traded stock as leverage to obtain the cash, or use the stock itself. Or we can utilize option 1 by assuming the debt and in conjunction with option 2 and cash out the principal with the stock. This has to be agreed by the seller, of course. There should only be an issue. It should not be an issue with the seller if it's set up in an LLC or a corporation and has issued stock to the principal. All right, this means the loan is in the LLC or the corporation's name. This allows us to bypass the assumption of the loan because we're acquiring the company by cashing out the owners with our liquid stock in exchange for their private stock. We are now the new owners of the LLC or the corporation that holds the real estate. No red tape, no qualification for the loan is necessary. Okay. That's bottom line. That's how we rock, right? So so let's go ahead and close this out. This is the last here. So with debt or without the debt, you are eligible for a potential monthly dividend. So understand your financial position here, because it's not just the dividends. You should not be focused on the potential dividend. You do not own the real estate. The company does. And the dividend is secondary. Your primary concern is your stock holdings, which is the liquidable asset that entitles you to the dividend, the contract. They should never be separated because they represent the legal and equitable title to your stock. This is generational wealth, and this is how you leverage and preserve it for your current and future generations. I'm gonna give it back to you.
All right. Well, you did not disappoint as expected. You dropped some gems on us as expected. We'll go ahead and stop sharing your screen.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm about to do here. Stop sharing.
So go ahead, guys, put your questions in the Q&A. If you are here in Zoom, please put your questions in the Q&A. If you are in Facebook and have questions, you should have been in the Zoom. Okay. As the family's putting questions in, I want to talk about a few things and make sure I'm clear on the offering. The offering is to have stock in the actual cooperative, right?
Exactly.
The cooperative itself will acquire the real estate. Exactly. And at an early stage, right? And so you're getting in this as an early stage, as Tannen explained, using the wonderful Facebook example. I love that you used real numbers. I love that you chose a company that we're all very, very familiar with. Loved those slides, how you brought to life what getting in early really could mean. Now, obviously, there's no guarantee of this. We are, I am not a financial advisor. Tannen is not making any promises on what his company could do because that would be against the law. So we're not doing any of those things. So I love that he took a company that we're familiar with and showed us their real numbers to see how those early investors, right, made out.
Which were the banks, because Jobs Act wasn't there.
Right. So early on, those were the banks, right?
Exactly.
And so, we say we get to be the banks, right? We get to be the early adopters and the early investors. And that's what, in all of the ways that equity crowdfunding may not be perfect, right? The thing that and it's still early, right? So it's not going to be perfect, right? This is a very early law that we have an early seat at the table to even participate in. You guys have to remember that. We got into this really, really early. And while it is not perfect, it allows us the opportunity. And the same thing with the portals, right? The portals are not perfect. They're tasked with a lot of different challenges. But their existence makes it possible for us to be able to invest in these companies. And so we are in a perfect opportunity, in my opinion. We're in a perfect space and a perfect time that we're able to benefit from this. And so, Tannen, I love that I love that you made this a cooperative, right? I absolutely do. And I love that real estate is your is the niche, right? The asset that you are going to be
the foundation. Yeah, the foundation
of it. Yeah. Because we all know, right, that is the way generational wealth is built, right? And that is one of the assets that is really typically successful, in building wealth when you
Yeah,
have that.
and exactly. And you see how it's interfaced, right? You see how it's interfaced. So instead of you owning the property, you own the IP of it in regards to the stock. That stock becomes registered and you use it without even having to liquidate. That's the difference between a real estate fund and a REIT. You can go, you don't have to ask for permission. Oh, I want my investment back. Well, I'm going to make it liquid so you got your stock certificate and it's registered. So that's the asset. It's almost like you're stacking assets, but you have it back in it. So that's what's not being explained to people, on that level.
Yeah, no, I love that. And thank you for the education along with the offering information. And thank you for showing us the difference between what I believe I heard was just really explaining and bringing home the difference between creating generational wealth, right? Versus maybe just some wealth, right? Or just being
it's not even wealth. It's you just created
making
money.
some extra money, right?
That's all you're doing, yeah.
Because I will say, and then we'll get to the questions. I will say, there are some founders who do raise capital because they're selling some debt, right? They're taking those loan payments, and that's a way for you to put extra money in your pocket, right?
Exactly.
Now that's not going to be generational wealth, right?
No,
yeah. 25 or 30% on an investment, but that may be the 25 or 30% you need to now put a bigger investment on something else that may give you the generational wealth. So it's all part of should be part of your very strategic plan on how you build your portfolio.
Exactly. You have to be before you make a decision, you need to know all the options.
Yes.
And they're not giving everyone.
And the goals and your goals, right? You have to decide. These are investing is strategy, and we each have to have a strategy for ourselves. And so it can't be impulsive. It has to be a strategy. And so even when we present campaigns to you, I always tell you, right? How do they fit in your portfolio, right?
Exactly.
You make a decision. You do your due diligence and decide how it fits in your portfolio. I'm doing the same thing at the end of the night, seeing how it fits in mine, because we all have different strategies.
Exactly. Because I've had people tell me, you said, man, you're going to scare folks away. I said, well, that's the point. I'm supposed to.
I don't think you're going to scare them away. I think you're going to force them to think about this in a different way. That's what I hope happens, right?
That's what I hope happens as well.
I hope that you help them understand that they have to think about this, sit down as a family and really think about what the goal is, right? And then make decisions on how they want to invest.
Exactly. Because if they don't, because if they don't, what happens is that they fall into the same trap. So you say some people that are in and they say, well, we get and we trading, right? Oh, I got in early and whatnot. And then they don't have that education. Then they fall into that trap and then they lose everything because they don't know how to keep it, right?
That's it.
By not making those correct decisions. So you can get it, but then you can lose it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
And also to remember, I'm sorry. Also remember too, that we're not using a funding portal. Have you noticed that?
That's correct. You use the technology.
The broker dealer, which gives us full control, gives us the full control. We don't get those other things that's going on in there. So when you come to our site, you don't see hundreds of other
you don't see the other campaigns,
and I don't think they know it's an option for. That's the one thing I want also to bring to the issue is that there's an option for you to deal with broker dealers without having to do that and have your stuff custom made to what you're doing.
For founders, for other founders.
Yeah, for other founders, exactly.
So basically what Tan is referring to is, notice we didn't send you to, normally when we do these presentations, we go to an actual funding portal. Tannen has worked with a vendor that has
broker dealer who
actually provides this same technology to some of the portals. This technology is some of the portals back end, but with the portals, they're highlighting multiple companies. And what this company has done for Tannen is they've created the technology to just highlight, so he can send this link to his people and it only highlights him.
Keep them focused.
So yeah, they're a great company. I've spoken to them a couple of times and they really are. I love how they are allowing the founder that has a network to go directly to them. Not all founders have that benefit, right? Not all founders if they had a link that was just their own, they wouldn't have anybody to send it to, right? Because they don't have crowds yet. So luckily you have, kind of have a crowd that you have engaged over the last few years. So that's really great.
Yeah, and the back office is beautiful. Yeah, the back office is wonderful too, because I have access to all potentials, everything. All the data is mine.
Yep, that's wonderful.
Yeah, so.
All right, so let's get some of these questions. Jesse said, can you speak more about the creation of the whole ecosystem end to end? So Jesse, when you say the ecosystem, are you referring to the actual cooperative? And if you can go ahead and answer that before we come back to your question, I'm gonna move to John's question.
Is that Bradshaw? Is that
that's Jesse Bradshaw?
Bradshaw. The ecosystem is the back end on the membership side, Jesse. Remember that, right? Creating our trust and all of that. That's on the membership side, not on this front end. This is just the investment component.
Is that what you were referring to, Jesse?
I think so. I think that's what he was referring to.
So John is asking who Rialto Markets is. So you had Rialto Markets co-branded on some of your slides. If you can explain the connection with Rialto.
Well, Rialto is a broker dealer, right? So a broker dealer, that's one of those things. That's one of the steps that you utilize when you get ready to go. When you're getting ready to go public, right? So you have a broker dealer. Broker dealer is licensed in all 50 states. So I don't have to go and register my investment when we move over to the Reg A. When we start that process, we don't have to go to each state and register, right? We have that broker dealer, and that takes care of all of that because he's licensed in all 50 states. So I'm already showing you that I'm prepping for the Wall Street markets by putting the correct players in place right now. You see, so that way when we transition over, it doesn't affect you when you're investing because it's all the same tech. You see, so.
Very good, very good. Bernard said, reviewing the website, I see you offer a membership and business directory listing. Is that part of the investment we do, or is that separate?
No, that's separate. That's the membership side. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. We're just talking about the Class A side. And if you want to go there, you would just go to ccg.coop. That is the company site, and then you can sign up for your membership there to get access to those videos, come to workshops, come to master classes, and one and study groups that we have. We do two study groups. We do 2 study groups a week, Mondays and Wednesdays. We do a master class or a workshop on Saturdays. And then during the week, randomly, we'll do what we call a study group, where we do a study group with that. And then we'll also randomly in the week, we do a book reading on certain things that we're talking about within that study group. That all ties together on what we're doing. It's all structuring and making sure that we get our minds wrapped around things that we think that is in existence, which is not in existence. And then we have to get our minds right on a lot of things. We actually really have to retrain our brain on a lot of things in regards to investments and stuff like that, and business and contracts. So that's important.
For Drake, and I hope I pronounced that correctly, I apologize if I didn't, ask the question on one of the slides, on the slides where you had the numbers, the financials, it says payroll had a value of $0. Can you help us understand this operating expense?
Let's see, you were talking about, let me see. You talking about on the PowerPoint?
Yes. When you were on the breakdown of I think it was the second slide on the breakdown, because I noticed that as well. I think it was the second slide on the breakdown of the property.
Payroll, 0. Yeah, I see that. Yeah. Well, like I said, that's an example. There's probably not any payroll there. That person could be that can be an example of someone. If you notice, I said that 4.5, that's a VA loan. So he probably doesn't, he's probably running the whole thing by himself. It's only 70 units and he has probably has an on-site management, or he manages it himself. So that's probably why the payroll is zeroed out. But also too, you'll see repairs. He probably contracted folks out because you got repairs and maintenance and You got general and administrative. That could be the people itemize their stuff differently. So, and they probably just lumped them up. He probably just lumped it up in the management. So he's got a management fee of 53,800. See, that's his payroll. You see,
Exactly.
he just lumped it in. It's just the way that you describe it and itemize it on your report.
Very good. In the chat, Rain says, but I'll still be heavily invested in the stock market until I hit my numbers goal. I'm gonna get the bag in every way this American system has to offer. And Rain, I think, if that's your strategy, right? That's part of diversification, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. So I think you have a good strategy, and I love that you have a strategy, right?
That's the key. At least you got one.
Yep. Exactly. Patrice says, what's your estimated time and milestones from now to IPO?
I love that when they ask me that question. Remember, it's all based on y'all. It's not based on me. I've already brought the blueprint out, right? It's your move. The call to action is y'all, right? We've raised $5 million within the next month. We're gone. We raised 500,000. We're gone. You see what I mean? So it's up to the people. It's how fast you move, not me, because I'm already ready to go. You see?
So let's talk about that a little bit, because I've always heard that to IPO you need double-digit millions.
No. No, you don't do that. That's what scares people away, right? Because we can go public, and I don't have to buy any real estate, and we can go public, right? And then register the shares, go onto the exchange, go public, and then buy after we list. They do it all the time. You know how they do it? SPACs. So they call them SPACs today, but back in the day, they used to call them blank check companies, right? So they always listed blank check companies without having millions and millions of dollars, and they all be public shells sitting on the OTC, right? So that debunks that myth of you got to have all of this. See, the difference between us and a SPAC, right? We have a business plan. So we're not qualified. We're not classified as a SPAC. We can't be, right? So we already know what we're doing. So we execute that, meet the milestones, right? We get listed, right? We create the public float, which is y'all that already has the stock, right? We're creating a market. That's why the valuation is there. That's why I was telling you, everything is arbitrary and speculative, but at the same time, you have to provide those numbers to give an overview of what you're planning on doing, right? You just can't say, well, I'm going to do this. Well, okay, give me some guidance, right? That's the reason why I'm giving you the numbers and whatnot, so you can see this is where we're going. And that's why our valuation is the way it is because it's based on that business plan and what we're trying to do.
Okay. So is it safe to say, because we always ask the question, or someone in the community, they haven't asked it yet this evening, but somebody always asks the question about exit plan. What's your exit plan? Is your plan to IPO? I mean, is that
DPO? Yeah, we don't use IPO. We're DPO.
DPO,
which is a direct public listing. See, I think what happens is in the Jobs Act, they only talk about the crowd fund, right? But no one talks about the Regulation A. Okay. And so I talk about the Regulation A because the Regulation A is the small business qualification from the SEC for us to directly list on an exchange without, and when I say direct list, that means we can do it without an investment banker. We don't need an underwriter. We can go and do an application directly on the New York Stock Exchange American, right? Once we meet all the tier requirements. There's tier requirements. There's 3 tiers in regards to small business and the public float that you have to have and the value of that public float that you have amongst your investors and stuff like that. And that value to qualify to be able to directly list. And then from there, we use market makers, which they supply for us. And then we go from there to create a market for what we're going to do. And once we create that market, now we have liquidity. And now what do we do with our stock? Now we leverage that, and then we go buy assets, and we don't have to qualify for it because we have a registered liquid asset. You see, so it's all about the asset and what you create, not the money, because you need the because remember, the money comes from a contract. We're creating a contract, right? Your shareholder agreement, that's your contract that controls the distribution of money and wealth, right? And that's what we're trying to build. We're trying to build upon our projections, what we're doing. So if I'm saying we're going to need to buy, we're going to buy $100 million worth of real estate, boom, getting on the market was going to allow us that if we're able to get to the market, we have to meet the qualifications first. So remember, there's always qualifications. Before you meet those qualifications, you have to get a CUSIP number. You have to register. The stock has to get registered. Then they have to be eligible to be deposited within a brokerage firm. And then boom, once they're ready, then they're able to be, that's part of the eligibility process to be listed as well. You have to have your security ready and ready to go to trade, ticker symbol, all of that. You see what I mean? So, but the key thing is to get to that point, because that stuff costs money. Right. Registering shares costs money. You just can't just say, oh, I'm going to go public. No, you have to pay for registration. It costs money to register. And we have to figure out how many shares we're going to register. You see what I'm saying? To meet those tier requirements from either exchange, either the New York Stock Exchange or even the OTC. Right. So it's either the OTC is the low end. New York Stock Exchange American is the high end, right? And the difference is the cost, right? So we raise a certain amount of money, we utilize that, and we go to whatever area that whatever exchange we're going to go to get that liquidity. So very
good. Rain said, thank you, President Obama, for the Jobs Act. Probably the best move he made to benefit of our people.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of other ones he did too. Nobody paying attention to. So.
Yeah, John asked the question. It says on the website under the perks and time-based, it mentions invest 500 within 92 hours and receive a 30% bonus share. What's that 92 hours calculated from? What date?
Oh, that was in March. Y'all missed out on that. So you guys will only be the only thing.
So you may want to update that on your site.
Well, no, that has to stay there. Yeah, that has to stay there. That's already that keeps the perks on there. That's for the other people that are already have invested, because we're already over 17,000. So
right, but don't you want to put so that nobody has that question again?
Yeah, I'll talk to them about that. But no, you can audience base. If you look at there's different versions here. So you'll have your time-based, right? That's family and friends, that's early bird. So y'all know, everybody knows they missed out on that. We'll put a date on that. And then
let me go to the campaign page. So here we are right here under perks. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, so under so the only thing that's available still is the audience base and the amount base.
Okay, so time-based has expired.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then and then audience base, and then you have the other ones there.
So audience based is still available.
Mm-hmm.
So based on audience base, based on John's question, audience based is the same benefit as friends and family early bird. So it's still out there.
Yeah, still out there. Yeah, exactly. You just won't get the other ones over here because these everything that was on the time base is stacked.
Okay.
So if they they came in the first week, they qualify for the second and the third, and you see what I mean?
Okay. Very good. Okay, let me stop sharing. We've got Bernard said, is there a cutoff time to invest? So how long is your capital raise?
As soon as the capital comes in, yeah. I mean, it can go down at any time, just like the last time. Well, but we're looking at doing our first close in here within by the end of this month, right? So when that happens, some stuff is going to take place when that happens. I can't discuss that, but when you're in, you'll see that. You'll see that there's going to be an update. And some of my and if that's Bernard, you should know what I mean by that, Bernard. And if you have your transfer agent, you'll know, you'll see in your back office and your transfer agent. So yeah, when we do our we're in the process of doing a closing. So yes, so the quicker it's
You're in the process of doing a rolling close. Is that what?
yeah, doing a rolling close and stuff like that, and then we'll decide if we're going to keep it going after the 31st.
Okay.
And reissue and come out at a higher. We don't know. It depends on the urgency of the people, because I'm like, look, said we're creating our value. So based on what the investment is, and I'm like, okay, well, we need to come out at a higher rate based on this, because now we can put this on the books and then they'll calculate it. We might come out at a higher rate. You know what I mean? So just because it's at 25 now doesn't mean that it's going to be there later. You know what I mean? Because we're getting close to what we needed to do and stuff like that. So we want to make sure keep everybody mindful of that.
Okay. Any other questions for Tannen about the actual offering? Got a question.
It's just cut and dry. Yeah, it's just cut. It's simple. It's cut and it's not as complex as it was on the other one. It's just real simple.
Yeah, I'll ask a question. I typically ask the founders that come this question. Why was it important for you to come to the 10K project? And for you, why was it important for you to come back a second time?
Well, the access. I mean, the access to our niche market, which we are, what they call them retail investors, but I call them a little bit better, call them non-accredited investors, right? Because that's the legal classification right now. And it's like they're not getting what they think that they're getting. And I just got tired of that, right? And I was like, well, wait a minute, they need to know options. Because we can't. I come so we can have access to the people so they can know that there's more than one option. And all they have to do is look at it. I want them to understand when they're reading offering statements and stuff and see what we're giving and compare what we're doing to others to help that they can see. So what happens is that when they look at that, they know, right? Well, wait a minute, they ain't doing this. Then that form helps them form questions, and then now they start learning, So reaching out to the base that you have, they are our like-minded our people, whether they know it or not. You know what I mean? We give them a little knowledge, right?
Yeah, they know it. They know why they're here. They know why they're here. They absolutely know it.
Yeah, so it's important. It's important.
John says, how was the valuation calculated? He has two questions. So we leave this question up to the admin.
Go ahead and pull up the.
How was the valuation calculated?
Pull up the site. Pull up the thing there, so I can tell you where to go. The valuation report is on the offering page.
So where do I go? Is it down?
I'm about to look for it here. Hold on a second. It should be. Okay, go ahead and scroll down. Go down. Scroll slowly. Because it's a hyperlink in one of these things here.
Okay.
Keep going. Problem is solution. No, keep going down. It's further down. It's almost there. All right, hold on. Go back. Okay, here you go. The terms. Go ahead. You're there. The terms. There it is. Right there. Pre-money valuation. Right there.
Okay.
Click
so
the
here's
see
the
value.
Valuation report. So we'll let them see that on their own.
Yeah, you see how it's hyperlinked. You see how it's yeah.
Yep. So perfect. Very good question. Very good question. So it was under the terms is where that
under the terms. Yes, exactly.
And then John's second question is, what is the actual float? What's the actual float?
The float is dependent upon whatever tier system. See, there's 3 tier systems for qualifications for direct listing. So the float can be, we can have X amount of shares out. I think it's 15 million. That means how many shares that I have out there. That's what our float is going to be. And that's what we have to put out there in regards to whatever the valuation, whatever the stock is valued that the market maker create or suggest that we should put out in the market, right? So, but I don't have to go with their recommendation. We can make our own recommendation, right? But they give us a guide, right, to whether, okay, yeah, we could probably do this based on what you're going to acquire or whatnot. And then we'll look at what that price is. And then if it equals out to 15 million or more in that float, then we qualify on one of those qualifications under that tier. We're good. You see what I mean? So what you can do is if you are interested in that, you can go to the New York Stock Exchange American, and you can pull up their direct listing requirements, and then you can see the tier system, so you can kind of get an idea of what we're looking at, right? I don't focus on that now because we want to focus on the application. We want to talk about the registration because there's a lot of other steps before we even get to that application, right? So we got to get all that up. So when we go to that door, we have our baggage.
Very good. Sylvia said, good evening. Is it in active stage or still currently in investing stage?
What's that?
Yeah.
Again?
Sylvia, what are you referring to when you said, is it in? What is the it that you're asking? I'm being plagued with a fly also, Tannen.
Oh, yeah.
I got a fly that keeps flying around I'm like, dude. It's like a big fly too.
Oh, what does she mean by, she
didn't come back yet. Sylvia, if you can tell us what the it is.
Let me see what she's. Oh, I don't even see him. Let me see.
Oh, she says, I meant to ask if it's earning profit.
No. We haven't even bought no. That's the whole thing. We have not bought any real estate, and the reason why for that is that keeps everything clean, keeps everything cheap, right? So if I had a whole amount of real estate right now, right, I would be paying $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in accounting fees, right? So keeping it low as we're going, that helps, keeps everything affordable for us. You see, since I'm doing everything myself, right? So I strategically contract with certain professionals when it's time to utilize them and not just use them unnecessarily. You see what I mean? So it's always, see, when y'all invest, and I'm watching and making sure that I'm not spending unnecessary capital when it's not needed. You see what I mean? So we can focus on the real stuff, like the registration and the you know what I mean, getting the ordering the CUSIP number, doing all those important things to get an identity for our instrument that we're going to register.
Right. Very good. Very good. Any other questions? We've put the link again in the chat. Any other questions for Tannen this evening?
Oh, we got on today, didn't we? What we got in here?
Any other questions before we give our final statements? Edward said, I thought I was tripping. I thought something flew by. It's like a mini bird in here, Edward. It's like the biggest fly ever.
Said a mini bird.
I thought I was trying to be cool when it flew by a couple of times. Like one time it just landed on the computer screen. I'm like, man.
Oh, wow.
Oh, goodness gracious. Wonderful. Okay. Well, no other questions have popped in there. I'm going to give my final statements and then I'll let Tannen give his. First of all, I want to thank you guys for coming out. For those of you who, have ridden with us since this journey began, I'm so grateful to having you as members of the 10K project, and so grateful that, you continuously week after week give of your time to support the Black founders that we bring here to the 10K project. We are making an amazing impact in their lives, right? We're part of their journey, they're part of ours. And so I thank you guys always for showing up and showing out. I always tell you, make it very clear, I'll say it again tonight, I am not a financial advisor, right? It is not my job to tell you, nor will I ever tell you what to invest in, right? That is not what I do. What I do is I bring founders who are doing amazing things from an innovative standpoint to you so that you can individually decide if they fit in your wealth building strategy, right? And we talked a little bit about strategy this evening. And so we've done that again tonight with Mr. Andrews. You know, what Tannen has educated us on. Anytime a founder comes and drops gems and educates us on the process, right, in the system, that's something we can take away and hold on to and continue to educate our circle on. That's always a bonus for us. We always walk away learning a little bit more about either an industry or a concept, right? And he did not disappoint this evening. And so, you know, our job here at the 10K Project is to do two things. One thing is do your due diligence and consider adding this in your investment portfolio if that's what you choose to do. But the second thing, which is what you guys know, I believe the most important thing is if this resonated with you in any way, you got it, Edward, share, right? Share the campaign link. The thing that these founders need, I believe, even more than the money, right, is they need the eyes on the campaign. They need the eyes. And so share the campaign link with all of the people that you know and love. And, you know, I even joke sometimes and say, share it with people you don't even like, because they deserve to build wealth too, right?
Don't discriminate. Right?
You might like them a little better if they weren't so crotchety. So give the link to them too. And so really, you know, jokes aside, the importance, you know, the really important thing that we are able to do here is we're able to share what the founders are doing with other people so that those people can then tune in and decide if this fits in their portfolio. The one thing Tannen talked about that I think is really important is when he talked about the portals, right? Not everybody knows that is even an option. Many of the people in our lives, right, that are not a part of in this equity crowdfunding or investment crowdfunding arena, they don't even know what a portal is, right? So the odds that they're going to find some of these campaigns, very unlikely. The odds that they're going to find Tannen's without your help, very unlikely, right? Because his is not on a portal, right? He has his own link created just for him, for his network. And so he really needs us to share, because there's no other way for them to get this unless someone that they know and trust, you know, can give it to them. So, you know, that is what we're tasked with this evening. More than anything else, I'd like for you to share the link. That doesn't cost you anything. You know, that is a simple ask, in my opinion. Let's see. Oh, Sylvia said, is this being recorded? Sylvia, you'll get it the way you always do in the newsletter. Yeah, you'll get it the way you always do. Tannen, you want to close us out? What do you want to say to the people? We got a lot of people stayed on and we went long. We said we weren't going to go long this time, Tannen, and we went long. We're going to have to.
No,
I'm going to get a hold of some of them slides, and I'm taking about 10 of them slides out that presentation, brother.
I had to pack it in. I mean, I had to pack it in.
Did you have? You just had to.
I mean, yeah, it was longer than that, but I had to pack it down. That was 40 slides, but like I said, I had to pack it down because I mean,
we're gonna get you down to 25 slides, okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to. I know better than that because my professor will probably be like, "What? Boy, you know what? 40 slides? You know what are you doing?" But this is written up. But this is real life, though. This is real life, and we can't be giving half tools to our people when we're in a battle, in a system and stuff like that. You need every source of ammunition that you need to assist you in the journey. And y'all have been doing this. It'll be 32 years this summer. Yeah. And it's ups and downs. Y'all don't have to y'all don't have to go through the stuff that I've gone through. You don't have to. I've already packaged it up. I got you. You know what I mean? I mean, I got y'all. You know, I mean, if some of the members are in here, y'all know, just shout it out in the thing. You know, I take care of you. I talk to you. You guys have full access to me, and I don't try to rush you off the phone. You know, when you call me, we're talking. We talk for hours. You see what I'm saying? Breaking out because they're asking those questions, and I tell them I wish y'all ask those questions in the workshops, so we get it on tape. But y'all, we can do this. We can do this. I just showed you how to replace the banks. I just showed you how to do it. The wealth is y'all. And you might think, well, I'm not wealthy. Yes, you. When 10,000 y'all come together, that's wealth.
That's our concept, right?
All right. That's
How they come
purchasing.
together. That's it. Yeah.
That's purchasing power, y'all. Right. We've already raised over 17,000. I haven't even marketed anything yet. You see what I mean? And somebody asked about a cutoff. Man, I would just say, don't worry about the cutoff. Do what you got to do right now, because like I said, in a couple of weeks, we'll be doing an international webinar, with the broker dealer, because that's their job. You see, you can't do that with these funding portals, right? But you can do that with the broker dealer, because they're licensed. They have a different license than a funding portal license. You see what I mean? So, and we can do this. 500 of y'all come up with the minimum of 1,000. We're at 500,000. We can start doing what we need to do.
The minimum is 500. Yeah.
Yeah, the minimum is 500. So if 1,000 of y'all came in and did what you if 1,000 of y'all come in with $1,000, boom, we're at 500,000. And that's enough to do what we need to do. That's enough to get us to start the process to the OTC, right? And then we can stair step up to the New York Stock Exchange, right? So I have the blueprint. I got the plans. All I need for y'all is to bring the capital. I've been holding this ship up with my own capital for years, right? So and hey, just don't wait. Just do what you do. Get rid of some dinners. If you go out to dinner monthly and you spend use that as you know what I'm saying, you have to miss a couple of dinners going out and stuff like that. Forget about those pair of shoes, right? Because you remember, when you do those things, you always have to think, when you spend money, am I getting an equity stake in what I'm spending my money in right here? If you're not, then you probably need to analyze where you put that particular money. Because think about it, everybody that had their tax returns, they come in, they put that money in with that tax return, right? And they just blow it, right? But what if you put it in, put $1,000 of that tax return, or just 500, 1,000 or whatever into it, and we're going into, and you're getting equity? That's a whole different ball game. You see what I mean? So
I think it's a simple, I'm not gonna tell you not to eat. I'm not gonna tell you not to buy the shoes. What I'm gonna tell you to do is, I'm gonna tell you to come up with a strategy. You know what your strategy is, right? You know what your goals are, and you know the things that you can do that get you to the goals, right? Mm-hmm. It's really that simple. And that's going to be a different thing for you than it is for me, than it is for 5 other people that are on here this evening. But what we need is a strategy, and then we need to follow that strategy. The fact that you guys are part of this community lets me know you already have your mindset right. You already know what you want your future to be. You're just trying to figure out how to get there, right? And so that's the next step for you, is to really figure out how to get there. And do your due diligence. If this campaign resonates with you, then you act accordingly. But please share it. Patrice had a question. She says, does the website explain the use of the word cooperative in this process?
No. You just have to look up what cooperative is. Cooperative is just a group of like-minded individuals that pool their financial capital together to provide the services and the needs to one another within their collective group. You see, so that's why you heard me say limited use of government resources, right? Mm-hmm. People always talk about, hey, I want to pay taxes. How can I do the taxes? You stop depending on the government and looking for them to help you. Then you're able, and when you create that nonprofit, right? Then you eliminate and you become exempt from taxes. So that's how one of the strategies, when you come over to the membership side, we're talking about those strategies. Where are you going to put this? Where are you going to put your stock holdings at? How you're going to leverage them? What you're going to create? We talk about trust and all of that and stuff like that. How you're going to navigate within the system without having to pay taxes. It's all about the resources that you do not utilize. We create the resource. What we're doing is we're creating the resources for ourselves, right? So when we become independent, we're no longer dependent. Then then that exemption comes in. So because we're providing for one another, so the government doesn't have to, so they can't engage with us on that level. only for protections, what the Constitution actually says for us. But I'm going to do something. I'm going to do something. You know, I always do something, and I'm going to close out. But you always know I'm going to do something. So what we're going to do is that same thing. The ones that put this date down, right? 5/9/2023, right? Whoever invests within those time frames on those perks, I'm going to honor those. I'm going to honor that just for the 10K project people. You see what I mean? So then that way I don't have to change up anything,
Okay.
right?
So the time-based, so what you're saying is the time-based perks that we saw on the site, you'll honor that using today's date.
Yeah, I'm gonna use the 96 hours, all of that. The what was it? The beginning one, was it? Which one did you have, Tawana?
So let me go back up to it.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
All right. So time-based perks. So family and friends early bird, that's going to go from today, starting today.
Yeah, that'll start for today, just for the 10K investors for today. And then for me to, and it don't apply. Well, yes, it will. It will apply because it says family and friends. So they'll go for it. So it's open for everybody.
Right. And anybody, right. Anybody seeing you from us, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll see this. So that's good. So very, very good. So to answer some of the questions we had, all of these
are in play.
Base will be in effect using today's presentation date. So if you are watching the replay because you got it in your newsletter, we're going by today's date because we needed y'all here live with us, right?
Exactly. So because the gentleman just asked, he said, how do we indicate it? By today. So
today's presentation date. So this was the 5/9/2023 pitch presentation. And so that's the date. So wonderful. Very, very
exactly.
good.
So when we establish that, then what I'm gonna do is, if in addition to that, I'm only doing it for the 10K, right? And and for my other one, right? The next one that I'm going to do, right?
You don't need the date, Micheline. He can see all of that in the back end. So
I can see all that in the back end.
In his dashboard, he's going to be able to see the date you invested. If it is within 92 or 96 hours from today, then he's going to honor the perk for you.
Exactly.
If it's in 10 days, he won't.
No, you won't. Yeah, you'll move into that next phase. You'll move into that next slot. Right. Remember, because the first one, it has to be within 96 hours. And then the second one was within that week. You see what I mean? So they'll lose the top one and they'll start from that second one.
Understood.
So now anybody that does, like I said, this is only for this here. Now, if anybody does 1,000 or more, right, then I'm going to give you, there's only 99 of them left, a lifetime membership on the cooperative side.
Is that listed in the perks?
Nope.
Already for them?
No, that's why we're talking about that now. That's different because remember, that's the membership side. That's different. That's not part of the offering, right? So you'll get that. So having a lifetime
membership,
the membership is on the other side. That's where you have access to the videos, the workshops, and whatnot. And like I said, that's only if we verify that over here on that side on
So just let's talk about that process a little bit, and then we need to wrap this up. So let's talk about that process for a little bit. So when they invest with you, you're collecting their information, their contact information. So you're collecting their email address and all of that stuff. So you'll be able right. So you'll be able to see that anyone that invested that $1,000 amount, you'll then you or your team will reach out to them and then send them information.
I will send them an email. Yeah, I will send them an email. I'll know that it's there once it. So tonight I'll see anything that's from the 9th today and on until we get down to that audience base, whatever, and stuff like that. They'll be in that zone, and then I'll send them an email confirming that once everything is processed and everything is done. Then I'll send them an email to show as their receipt. I said, I got it, blah, 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 this and that, so and then hold on to that.
You use email addresses that you check regularly when you do this, right? You don't want to give that email address that you only look at every 6 months. You want to make sure you check the email addresses that you can see when Tannen and or his team sends you the verification for your free membership if you do the $1,000 or more. So
exactly. And also then when I see that you invested within that, I said, I will send you, I will actually send you a link to go ahead and so you can set up your membership on there so you can start next week so you can start being involved with the study groups and the master classes and whatnot to see, and then you can see the previous stuff so you can see where we're going with that, with the education of it, because this is a university like style type education. This is not just some stuff, right? You're getting all this for free, right? In regards to the education and the workshops, right? Like I said, 3 to 4 times a week where we're putting stuff together to prep you for Wall Street. That's the reason why we call it crowdfunding to Wall Street. I'm not playing. We're crowdfunding to Wall Street, and I'll close on that one.
Yeah, I can tell you this man is a natural educator. He's definitely into the teaching. He doesn't and he's right. You don't just have a conversation. Every conversation is an education session. So when you call him, y'all better be ready to chat because he gonna talk.
Oh,
you gonna walk away learning something, okay?
Well, I'm chatting because I'm based off their questions, right? They asking me some questions and I'm giving it to them. You know what I mean? Like you're supposed to get it, like you do your children, so yeah. So hey.
You're definitely somebody that cares.
I'm not gonna apologize for that, Toa.
No, I don't want to apologize. I just want them to know what they're gonna get. That's all I just want them to know. No, you are definitely you're the real deal when it comes to teaching us and making sure we succeed. So thank you.
Oh yeah, even though they don't want to hear it. I mean, I know I say some hard stuff, but sometimes, hey, we have to tell, like I said, when you hear me talk is based on my experience. And so you need to know that experience. Well, why do you move that way, Tannen? Why do you say those type of things and stuff like that? I said, those are because of my experience, right? So ain't nobody gonna sugarcoat that. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. Everybody else will sugarcoat for you, but when you get to me, well, he's going to give me the truth. I'm not going to like it.
Right.
And, but damn, I got to put that work in with him. You see what I mean? Because if he's moving, I'm going to see if you put in work. I'm going to see it. Trust me.
Yeah. Carlos, please look at the campaign page. We put the link. It's actually two messages above yours. It'll tell you exactly how many shares you get for that amount. So go ahead and please take a look at the campaign page.
Oh, she's talking about what 5? Oh, she's talking about
yeah. Just let her.
I hate they miss August. I hate it when it was a penny a share. I hate that.
We just put it there again. Yeah. All right, guys.
All right.
This has been a good evening. Oh, we got another question pop in. Patrice says, I guess I'm going to have to call. Is the number on the website?
She have to call what?
You're going to have to call you.
Oh, go ahead and give him a number. So she can call
Miss Patrice, she said you. Miss Patrice, email me. I'll give you his number.
Yeah, she can call me. Yeah, tell her to text me. Patrice, make sure you text me first so I can put you in my my good call list so my robots don't don't send you the voicemail. I already know what the call gonna be. I already know.
Oh my goodness.
I love this, but I love this though. I get this all week.
The other thing is, if you guys have basic questions or just questions, period, on his campaign page, there is a discussion section, right? Because remember I said this is the same tech the portals are using. There's a discussion section that is by law required on all of these campaign pages. So please go there also and drop your questions, because there could be questions that other people
can see,
right, and know the answers to.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I tell you what, Tawana, go ahead and give them the support. Just give them the support email real quick.
Oh, okay. What is it?
Support at ccg.coop. So just fashion your emails and reference me, what you talk, give me your number and stuff like that, and then I'll make sure I put all that in my phone, and then I'll text you sometime tomorrow, and then that way we can set up a time. That'll be easier.
Wonderful. Perfect.
And when you do invest, and then if you do invest within that time, be sure to send your information to support as well. So that way we have a corresponding record, records. I'm big on records, making sure, hey, Tanner, you said this. I said, let me check. Yeah, I said it. I got you. You see, so let's make sure we correspond correctly.
Okay.
All right, Tawana, thanks
again. Guys.
Oh my
Thank you
God.
so much. We went
did it again.
shorter than we did last time.
I know, Tawana. I'm sorry. But you finna go on vacation, so you finna have you a good vacation. So
25 slides, Mr. Andrews. 25 slides.
I try.
Good
I'm
night,
gonna
everybody.
cut them up. I'm gonna cut them up.
If y'all want Tanner to do 25 slides, put a 2 in the chat.
No, they don't. No, because they be wanting that information though. They be wanting that information.
Oh my goodness. All right, guys. I love you guys. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. So many of you are still on with us. Y'all are the riders. I'm telling you, y'all the real ones right there. Thank you.
How many people on there still? 40?
I think like 45 people still on.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's what's up.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thank y'all. I appreciate
you guys.
y'all. Appreciate
Have
it.
a wonderful evening,
Thanks, Tawana.
everyone.
Oh,
Mwah.
hey, Tawana, when you get a chance, call me. I need to talk about the membership.
Okay, I'll do it tomorrow.
Because I forgot something on there.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
On your side, on 10K project.
Okay.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.